Hello and welcome to this video on camellia as a species for bonsai. Camellia covers a wide range of flowering shrubs, some more hardy than others. Depending on which particular species or subspecies we're talking about, the flowers will vary considerably. They're often grown as bonsai in the form of a formal upright, informal upright, and a few other varieties of style. For the most part, they prefer to grow as upright as possible. This does mean that they are somewhat limited in the styling you can do and how you go about it, but it also means that they're also one of the more easily obtained specimens, particularly if you want something more developed. They are often grown as a garden shrub. This use as a garden shrub is one of the benefits that the bonsai enthusiast has. Because they're considered older style now, many new gardens do not have them. The tree itself became well established and popular after being imported from parts of Asia. It grew everywhere from the Himalayas through to Japan and down to Indonesia. More than 300 species have been described. There are also a vast number of hybrids. The tree can grow up to 10 meters tall and several meters wide. It has dark green leaves, although these can be down to a yellowishy browny color as well. The trunk varies, although commonly you'll find it to be a pale greyish silver color. Not quite as white as a silver birch, but still quite a pale color by comparison to many of the other species. Unlike many other varieties of tree that you might find used for bonsai, the advantages of the camellia, and particularly Camellia japonica, is that they bloom in winter through to early spring. These are large flowers. The flowers will come in different varieties, these being single, semi-double, and double-flowered varieties. The flowers will naturally grow to somewhere between 7.5 and 15 centimeters wide. They come in pink, red, or white. There are also striped and speckled varieties. Reducing the flower size is quite difficult. This is one reason why camellia as a bonsai are often trained as larger, upright specimens of one sort or another. In a manner of speaking, you could think of them as a larger version of an azalea. Like an azalea, they prefer a slightly acidic soil. You can achieve this by using lime-free soil mixes, although if you intend to use gin and shari, that becomes a little more difficult. The roots of the camellia like to be kept slightly moist. The other issue is you can't let it dry out. This means even in winter, you need to keep it just a little bit wet. You also need to be careful about the water you're feeding them with. Water that has a large amount of minerals, particularly basic minerals in it, can be very adverse to the camellia's growth. Camellias need that little bit of extra support. Particularly, they need support when fertilizing because you'll be using an acid-type feed, something suitable for your azaleas. You want to give this to them if it's in liquid form every week. If you're using a solid fertilizer, every 4 weeks. The caveat to this is that you do not fertilize them while the tree is flowering. More accurately, you don't give them the azalea fertilizer while it's flowering. Instead, use something with a high phosphorus content, and particularly iron. This is important for 2 reasons. One is that it will give you the best show of flowers. The second reason is that the iron content helps with the coloration of those flowers. You're also needing to consider when it will flower. Remember, this occurs from winter through to early spring. You don't want to be using any other fertilizer at this time anyway. When your flower display is complete in spring, you need to begin pruning it. Do this by removing wilted, wilting, or dead flowers. cut the branches back to only a couple of leaves. Make sure you take away any other growth that you don't want at this time. Once you've done that, you now have to wait a little while. You'll see a new flush of growth come on. This new flush of growth will be what you need to watch carefully and remove if you don't want those branches there. Take them away now in early spring while you have the chance. This will also help with ramification and reducing leaf size. Some of the leaves can get quite large. Regular pruning is useful in reducing that leaf size, although again, because they are so large, you may struggle if you're going for a particularly small specimen. Pruning to produce more ramification will also help with developing more flowers. Flowers will only appear at the end of branches. This means more ramification equaling more blooms. When cutting branches, be careful to cut above the nodes. This is the juncture where a leaf is attached to the stem. Cutting here ensures that new branches don't start back from the edge of where the branch is, rather at the very end. This also means that all the flowers and leaves are as far out as the tree is going to go. This will help you to keep your silhouette. Your silhouette will be part of the style, and styling will inevitably require wiring. Wiring should be done in winter. Remember though that the tree may be flowering, so doing this in the early parts of winter are best. Some people say that wiring can be done any time, but preferably in late spring through to autumn. These two approaches are diametrically opposed and tend to become focused on one or the other attribute. Either you're trying to wire shoots that will harden off in summer. This is when they become mature. You don't want to apply any wire though that is going to go on a branch that will then flower. Obviously doing it in winter, it's much easier to figure out which branches are going to be flowering. The other concern when you wire your tree in summer is that these branches can be very fragile. If you have awkward hands, there is a good chance that the branches may easily break when you are wiring them. This is why many people would prefer to wire their trees in winter. The second concern with this is that the branches, as mentioned, can be very fragile, but breaking is not the only problem. If you happen to score, scar, or mark the tree with the wire, it won't go away for a long time. This is one reason why you should consider using some sort of protection. It's also one reason why in winter is a little bit better. In theory, by the time you wire the tree in winter, they should have begun to mature. This means the chances of damage to the bark is somewhat reduced. Your camellia should be kept in a warm place, but not somewhere where it's exposed to the full brunt of both summer and winter. This is somewhere semi-shaded. You do not want it exposed to anywhere where it's going to experience frost. The lowest end where you could reasonably expect it to survive without any harm is somewhere around 10 degrees centigrade. One of the advantages to having it in this cool an environment is that the flowers will last longer. The lower the temperature, the longer they will last. The highest the temperature these flowers will survive at and keep going is somewhere around 15 degrees centigrade. So long as during summer you keep the tree well protected from the extremes of heat and the extreme cold of winter, you should be able to get a good display, so long as you follow that rough temperature guide. The camellia should be repotted every 2 to 3 years. This is done in early spring. One of the issues you will face is that you will gradually need to increase the size of the pot. This is because you are not going to be pruning the roots as heavily as you would some other species, where the general rule would be to remove 1/3 of the root ball. This is going to be less possible with camellias, and you're gradually going to have to go up in pot size. If you want to try and put that off for longer, you can try and top dress the pot with new soil. This involves removing approximately the first 5 centimeters of soil and replacing it. This isn't an ideal solution, but it will give you more time. One of the issues with that is you need to make sure not to cover the root ball with excessive amounts of soil, or to mulch it too much. You also want to make sure that once it's in there and you have top dressed it or repotted it, that it is well watered. Camellias have a variety of other issues, but these are primarily diseases and pests. Overall, the most common issue you're going to encounter is scale. This can be dealt with the use of a systemic or targeted pesticide. Slightly less easily dealt with are leaf gall and root rot. There's also a camellia-specific virus. Root rot is often a product of overwatering, and as has been mentioned in past videos, overwatering is the leading cause of death of bonsai. Leaf gall is a little less easily dealt with, and again you'll need to look at using some sort of systemic pesticide. The camellia yellow mottled leaf virus is one that particularly attacks camellia trees. This will need specific handling, and you'll need to get specific information for your region on it. In simple summary, the camellia has some very stunning blooms on it. The flowers are large, long-lasting, and occur in a time of the year where not a lot else is flowering. If you're trying to get more flowers out of it, you can try and coax new buds, particularly by growing them outdoors, which for most bonsai you should be anyway. The other issue is, because they're tender in winter, protecting them will give you more flowers. This makes them less than beginner friendly, as you need to be more careful about where they're kept. On the other side is that you get a very strong display. The species is surprisingly resilient for what it is. This means that if you have some experience with some bonsai, the camellia might be a good candidate for your next specimen. On the other hand, if you already have a large collection, the camellia may be work that you do not want. But also, if you are inexperienced, it may not be work that you're ready to deal with. Thank you for watching this video. If you have found it interesting, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions you might have below.